Hello, everybody. It's been a minute. Welcome back to the Realer State of Mind podcast. Today we got Francisco, or it goes by Paco here.
Paco, yes.
Paco from Farmers Insurance. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Fun fact, this is my first podcast. You're appearing in one, so it's pretty cool to finally be in one.
All right, man. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for coming. I guess, obviously for the people that don't know you, besides owning, I guess you own a franchise, or how does that work? Anyway, explain to the...
Yeah, so I own a farmers insurance agency. We're technically not a franchise, but we do basically do the legwork for the company. We're like independent contractors, and we sell insurance on behalf of Farmers Insurance. We transact, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this for 4 years now. Before that, I worked for Farmers Insurance Corporate. So I was a recruiter, kind of did like HR behind the scenes with them, ran a district office. And then I jumped into the actual agent role January 2021. So I just hit my 4 years.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So guys, I bring him here to the podcast today because I think he'd be a good guy to talk about just kind of what's going on with the insurance business today in California, what's going on with these fires, what are the ramifications, what companies are going to make or break, and we'll talk a little bit about the insurance commission. And yeah, so I guess how has it been with these fires? Like, what's going on? Like, how has your phone been blowing up?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, our agency is probably 80% homeowners insurance, or fire insurance, what they call it. So we've been getting a lot of calls. Unfortunately, we do have about 6 or 7 clients that got affected directly with the Altadena fire, or Eden fire, I should say. But as far as we know, there's one that's been a complete burn down. This client unfortunately lost their home, lost everything, but they got paid out within a week with Farmers Insurance. They cut them a check, and I mean, it's not going to replace their house, but at least they have that capital to rebuild somewhere.
That's a good question. So I saw that people have been paid out. So what's the process if my house got burned down? What's the process of getting paid out, basically?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? What do I have to do to get paid out?
So basically, it's like these adjusters. We have relief sites right now with Farmers Insurance, and they have interactive like aerial imagery, pretty recent aerial imagery. So they're able to look up the homes, and they can see if your house is still standing or not. And they have people going out there and just taking pictures of, unfortunately, rubble or ashes or whatever is left. And then they see you know what, this is a total loss. Let's look at your coverages. And they're paying out everything. They're not only paying out the reconstruction costs, the dwelling amount, they're paying for them to go live somewhere else. They call it loss of use or additional living expenses. And it's an unfortunate situation, but some of these people, they lost a lot of stuff. And I don't know if they're going to be able to rebuild anytime soon because there's so many properties.
Right. And we were just also talking about the construction costs. So with insurance, we're just talking about how not insurance, but the construction costs are now about $350 a square foot.
Correct.
In the Southern California area. So does the insurance just pay that, or how does it work?
So every insurance policy, homeowners insurance policy, is insured for the dwelling amount. The dwelling amount's a cost, that the price that it costs to rebuild a property. Sometimes people call us and they're like, hey, my house is worth $1 million. Why am I only insured for $700,000? And we have to explain to them, this is how much we estimate it will cost to rebuild your house. It doesn't mean, your house is worth $700,000, because that's a whole different thing. The price of the home, the value of a home, and the reconstruction cost.
Right.
So, we educate the clients with that kind of stuff. But yeah, ever since COVID happened, we've been seeing trends for reconstruction costs to be between $300 to $350 per square foot. So it's been going up, and it's just the price of labor, materials, wood, plywood, whatever, electrical wiring, everything just shot up. Everything else.
You only deal with California?
Yes, we only insure homes in California currently.
Yeah, and that Altadena area. So that there's, for you guys out there, the Palisades area is, I would consider, upper class.
Correct.
You're talking about multi-million dollar homes. And also the PCH is technically, that's now Malibu, and those are 30. Sometimes I actually seen some listings that are like 29.
Yeah.
That were for sale, 29.9 million.
Yeah.
But anyway, my whole point was the Altadena area, I would say, is a little bit more middle class.
Correct.
Even though it is super expensive, most of these people are, they're middle class. These are sometimes even like laboring type of job or things like that. So in other words, my whole point is that they're not super rich. So they do need, they do need these payouts, and they need them really quick. So these people are they're going to hotels or like.
Yeah, so they could go to hotels, they could go to Airbnbs, rent a house temporarily for a few months. Unfortunately, there is a lack now of like hotel rooms in the area. I talked to some adjusters last Monday when I went out there to one of our relief centers. And unfortunately, some of these people that have the Airbnbs they're kind of price gouging. They're kind of like, they know there's a lack of housing. So some of these people are charging like,
that was a topic,
$500 a night for like an apartment.
I got to look it up, but people, since you just mentioned price gouging, people are price gouging like crazy. I just want to show, I forgot who I sent it to, but a few examples of, sorry about that. Let me just pull it up really quick. If I could find it quickly. Oh, here it is. So people out there that have been price gouging, and I wanted to bring this up during this podcast, so I'm glad it came up. So it's the rent price gouging. So I guess if I lose my house, in terms of my loss of use coverage, how do you guys determine that, or how much loss of use do I get on a normal policy, or how does it work?
Usually depends.
So how much would you pay in rent, basically? Yeah.
Yeah. So usually farmers, they start off like at 20 to 40% of the dwelling amount. So it's a percentage.
Okay.
Obviously the more dwelling you have, the more loss of use, with the way they base that off. If this is maybe you had a bigger house or more square footage, and some people, they have a certain lifestyle. We did have somebody that was from the Palisades, we're gonna stay at this hotel resort in Malibu, and it was like $1,200 a night. So we were telling them, you do have a cap. I mean, it's not a vacation. It's
just a roof over.
Yeah, and some people don't realize they have a cap. There is a cap. Like if you're ordering caviar and lobster room service, it's I've seen it happen. And it's if you continue at this pace, you're gonna run out within 25 days, a month.
Food as well.
Correct. Gas, if you have to drive longer to work now because you got displaced or you move somewhere further.
So we were just talking about price gouging. So I'm going to be calling some people out. So hopefully this gets out there to all you. By the way, price gouging after a disaster is illegal in the state of California. You're not allowed to do it. And that's with housing. So because obviously we're related to housing. I know these are really expensive properties in some of these examples. This was posted by somebody online, but here's a quick example. And sorry to call you guys out, but 1390 Rose Avenue in Venice. Right now, it's listed at $18,900 for rent. And these are the people coming from the Palisades, for you guys know from the area. It's listed at $18,900. On November 22nd, so right around Thanksgiving, he was at $11,900. Wow. So he just moved it up $7,000 a month in rent because of the fires. Another guy, 1719 Wellesley Avenue, LA. He's at $14,995, so $15,000. They say it looks like it looks like a year and a half ago. This guy about a year ago, I guess he didn't get a renter, but a year ago he was at $8,500. This was not as big of a deal. Here's another one. Oh, here's another bad one. He was at $9,000 in October, right after the fires. On January 9th, he moved it to $14,500. And this is Cabrillo Boulevard in LA. So in the Mar Vista area of Los Angeles, which is, again, it's right by the Santa Monica airport. It's a small airport. But anyway, my whole point was that people are price gouging because of this. So you're kind of, I guess in the middle of it, or seeing people getting price gouged after they get their loss of use coverage, right?
Correct. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's going to run out. It's usually if it was like a fire, even if it was a fire situation where it was somebody's house burned down normally, with not a wildfire, it's maybe their house might take 4 to 6 months to get rebuilt. and that coverage was enough for them to go live somewhere else, food, gas, transportation, whatnot. But now it just, with all these homes that burned down, it's like it's gonna take longer. Permits.
It's gonna
to
take
get contractors out there. Unfortunately, there is a lot of fraud going on too. There's a lot of public adjusters like knocking on people's doors or sending letters, even if they weren't directly affected, but they're trying to make claims with the smoke or ashes. Even people that live on.
How are these fraud? What's going on? Let's talk about a little bit about this. What's going on?
So public adjusters, basically, like an adjuster, it's almost, think about it as an attorney, where they'll make a claim for you, and then
Who do they represent?
Technically themselves, because technically they're representing the client, but they're in it for themselves.
But they don't have clients.
No.
So what are they doing?
So they go to certain areas, even not near the fire, but basically they go door knock. And I've seen it a lot, like in the Hispanic community, where maybe people are not as aware, or they only speak Spanish, and they're like, hey, your house has like ashes or soot from the fires that were like 15 miles away. The wind brought it over here. We can make a claim, and you're gonna get X amount of money. And basically what they do is they make the client sign something, and now they have authority to make a claim.
And they get a commission off of this.
Correct, about 20% at least, from what I know. So some of these people are using public adjusters for their houses that burn down. So they'll make the claim for them, but they'll keep 20%. But if they keep 20%, it might not be enough for them to rebuild their home.
And you don't need a public adjuster.
No, you could use your own adjuster directly through the carrier.
Oh, right.
It's like a third party, yeah. It's like they manage everything for you. You sign off on it, and they're like...
But is this illegal, is the question?
It's not illegal, but it's just something that people do, unfortunately, and it's a lot of people are kind of like hunting. They're taking advantage.
I get it. Yeah, it's people... Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So it's people basically hustling for money, but I'm talking about these public adjusters. They're hustling, but you don't need to hire them. They don't, because you'll get your own for free through the carrier.
Correct.
So wouldn't you? Yeah, I mean, if you're smart, but you're right. Some of these people that just don't understand insurance, they're like, oh, yeah, you work for my insurance. Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, some of them pretend to be an employee of, let's say, Farmers Insurance.
Right. That's obviously fraud.
Because I've had people call me, and they're like, they tell me in Spanish, like, are you the guy that came to my house last Thursday? That knocked and told me to make the claim, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's some random person just pretending to be a representative of the company, just, money hungry.
Damn, bro. That's crazy. Yeah. Money hungry people. But to change up a little bit, I know you were talking about the, what are they called? The relief centers, right?
Correct.
So the relief centers, let's tell us a little bit, unpack that situation a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about the relief centers. What have you been doing, and what are they kind of all about over there?
Yeah. So a lot of the bigger carriers, like myself, Farmers Insurance, we do have 4 relief centers. We are a SoCal based company. Over now, I think we're in 96th, 95th year in business. So we do have 4 relief centers. We have one in Santa Monica. That one's more for the people in the Palisades. We have one in Pasadena, for like the Altadena area, another one in Burbank, and the other one in the headquarters in Woodland Hills. So these relief centers are meant for people or customers to go out there and file claims in person. And some of these people, I went last Monday, they were, hey, you know what? I got evacuated for the last, 72 hours. I lost $500 worth of groceries because there was no power. I had to stay at a hotel, $250 a night. So, we had carriers on site and these are catastrophe carriers. This is a group of adjusters from Farmers that work nationwide whenever there's a catastrophe. So they're very knowledgeable in this, these type of scenarios. And they were just asking for checking the routing or give me your debit card number. And they were just sending them, a few $1,000s. Like, all right, you're going to stay at the hotel maybe a few more days, or let me reimburse you for your groceries or whatnot. So that's kind of like, it's cool to see that like a bigger company like that is able to just pay out. Right. We are a little worried about the smaller carriers and newer carriers, because this is the first time, we have something of this magnitude.
This is the first time you have something of this magnitude here, or because we've had this stuff like this has happened.
But like since I've been in business, I think in SoCal the last maybe like event like this was probably the Northridge earthquake in '94.
Oh, really? What about the Woolsey fires in like 2018, maybe?
Yeah, so there were some in NorCal, the Paradise.
Yeah.
So those, I know there was a couple of carriers that became insolvent, but these were smaller carriers because unfortunately that whole area was already kind of like fire prone and nobody really insured it other than the California Fair Plan. But there was a couple of carriers that went out of business because they couldn't pay out.
Got it. I was thinking about something else, but you just mentioned the California Fair Plan. So for those people that don't know what the California Fair Plan is, like were these properties covered by the California? I mean, I'm sorry, the Altadena, Palisades maybe not because they're too, if you could explain what is the California Fair Plan?
So the California Fair Plan is basically a carrier it's kind of funded by all the carriers that are allowed to do business in California. So every like Farmers Insurance, State Farm, whatever, they have to pitch in like a certain percentage, almost like a tax, to fund the California Fair Plan. The California Fair Plan was originally meant to insure homes in high fire areas, Big Bear, Tahoe, kind of like in the mountains, or homes that are in really bad condition, like rehab properties that need a new roof, foundation, they're kind of falling apart. But unfortunately, ever since we started having this insurance crisis the last few years, it became more popular. So a lot of the carriers are pulling out, or were pulling out from certain areas that were insured in the past. Like Santa Clarita, even here in Orange County, like the
Santiago Canyon, Trabuco
Rancho Santa Margarita.
That's the Trabuco Canyon.
All that area, it's like, there was carriers insuring those areas, but as time goes by, like these fires are becoming more frequent and carriers are kind of like pulling out.
Yeah.
And the fair plan's coming in, and it's like now they're being used way more than normal. Or the
California Fair.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, I guess it's a percentage of your premium. What is it again?
Yeah, they basically get funded by all the carriers. It's almost like subsidized.
Depending on how many clients you have or customers or how many people you insure, you have to put a certain portion of that into.
Yeah, so like California is kind of like, you want to do business here, you do one of the fees, or I don't know what you call it, but it's to fund the California Fair Plan.
So everybody's kind of pitching in, like you said.
Correct.
And I know you said you're out there at the relief centers and people were getting paid. There's a portion, like right when you have a disaster, there's a portion of your policy that pays out right away. Is that the portion that they're getting paid? Because they're not giving you the house. They're not giving you $800,000. They're giving you just to live, right?
Yeah. So a lot of the people I kind of dealt with when I went to volunteer was people that got kind of just evacuated. So they had to get a hotel, and they were like, okay, how much is the hotel? How much,
You have to prove anything, or can they just kind of?
Usually you have to show receipts, kind of like, hey, I'm staying at this hotel. This is a receipt. This is the nightly rate. Or look at, this is a picture of my fridge. I had all these tomahawks in the freezer. It's $500 worth of meat, like whatnot. But right now, like farmers, like the bigger companies, I can't speak for other companies, but I know farmers is kind of like, they're just taking your word for it because they know it's a disaster. They know it's a catastrophe, and they're kind of just like
you said, once there's a disaster happens, there's fraud that happens too, and scams and this other crap that happens.
Exactly.
I was just talking to my brother yesterday, and we were talking about like kind of this insurance fraud stuff, and people can with cars. So cars are burning too. So correct. Your car would go under obviously car insurance, but it would be the same thing. They would if my car got burned, they would just replace. What if I was literally at my boy's house and my car was there and I don't live there? Would I still get, most likely, would I get my car back, or my money back from my car?
Yeah. So if you do have and full coverage is like a loose term, but if you have the comprehensive coverage, it'll be covered because it's other than collision. Basically, it's an accident, like a tree falls on it. There was a fire. They stole the catalytic converter. All that's covered under comprehensive. So your car would be covered in case of a fire.
So I was just, because people who want to get rid of their cars, they're running these scams. I was like, yeah, bro, just go throw it in the fire. They don't know where your car's.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but anyway, it is what it is. So how long is it going to take for me to build my house back? Like, when does that happen? Like with all this, because it's $350 a square foot. I was just thinking about it. So it's 2,000 square, probably Altadena is maybe 1,500 to 2,000 square foot. Most of these homes at 2,000, that's $700,000. So Yeah, when does that have to get paid out, I guess?
That's a good question, Andrew, because this is something we're like navigating as we go, especially because there's so many people affected. You're talking about hundreds, thousands of homes that burned down. So it's not like, there's going to be the city, the permits, hazmat going to clean up. Yeah, there's going to, there's certain like, there's stuff in the air. Like, some of these homes in Altadena, they're very old homes. They're over 100 years old. It's like adjacent to Pasadena. So historic homes, those craftsmen's homes. So some of these homes, it's like the materials are not even available anymore to rebuild them. With the plaster walls and all that stuff. Some of these homes had basements. So like putting them up to code, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out over the next, months or even years.
I was watching
take years.
The wood back then, when the wood where people built 100 years ago is actually better than the wood right now, because it's just, they're more mature trees. I don't know if you have any idea about that kind of stuff, but
I'm not a contractor or expert, but I do know about a little bit. Like some of these older homes have like that, I don't know if it's redwood, but I think
termites, because the wood is so dense.
It's that wood. They call it the redwood. That's what people call it usually on the studs. And I know people that have had like water claims and all this stuff, and they have to tear down the wall, and that wood is still good, and it's been there for 80 years.
Yeah.
So I know that now. Yeah, that wood is not used anymore.
Yeah, that wood we have now is crap. That's why we get termites and stuff. If you look at the wood now, it's like a lighter wood.
Yeah.
Versus it was like a darker, richer, like
heavy, solid
25, 30-year-old tree. We're probably, I don't know, these are probably 5-year-old trees or something.
Yeah, that they use purposely. I'm assuming they grow them just to use for lumber.
Yeah, man. So this is going to take forever to build up all these homes. Years. I mean, actually, I heard it's literally going to be 5 years. Like, it's going to be like before it's kind of back to normal. And the Palisades, man, the Palisades was, it's a beautiful, it's probably top 5. I don't know. I'm not going to put I'm going to put a number on it, but it's one of the most beautiful neighborhoods.
Correct.
And actually, there's a big real estate guy. There's a big real estate guy online that was saying like, nobody's going to move back to the Palisades now. All these people are moving out, yada, yada. People are going to move back to the Palisades. It's too nice. Again, for those people that are like watching and listening that don't know the area, it's up on a hill right next to Santa Monica, but you get ocean view, and then you get kind of the suburban feel. You get the wide streets, and you're right in West LA, where it's prime. It's by the freeways. It's by it's prime. And you're not up in the hills like the Bel Airs and the Hollywood Hills, where it takes forever to kind of come down. Correct. So it's a really, really nice area that it's for sure going to be built back, and it's for sure going to come back. The only problem is how long it's going to take. And I guess, you're not sure either, right? Basically, how long
we're kind of just navigating through it and see what happens. Because I know for the Palisades, a lot of those properties were like they're owned by multi-millionaires. Yeah,
they probably, I get it. They don't need money, but still, it's just still burned down.
Yeah, I'm a little more worried about the people in the Altadena, like working class. I do have a client he owns his triplex, and he lived in the triplex. He lives in it. Fortunately, it didn't burn down, but the guy worked in a restaurant on one of the main streets, and that restaurant burned down. So this guy doesn't have a job anymore.
Oh, yeah, and he owns the triplex. And maybe his tenants, those 2 other tenants in the triplex. Yeah. Maybe they got burned. Yeah, dude, I saw like even, what was weird is I'm watching him on the news, speaking of like restaurants, like I saw an Aldi supermarket.
Yeah.
You might have seen that.
Yeah. There's like a Chase. There was like a Wells Fargo thing. Like on the main street.
There was literally shopping centers are burning down. I haven't seen that. I've only seen homes and other fires. I haven't seen because the shopping centers are usually like in the flatlands where,
correct.
They're new. Yeah. Which is the fires got all the way down to the flat.
Yeah. Apparently, some of these embers flew out to up to 2 miles away from the actual fire
and started.
Some of these gusts were like 50, 70 miles per hour. So apparently that's what happened. And so even people that were even 2 miles quite away from the mountains, but
I know and it's also taken forever to. I need to have a firefighter on or somebody from the fire department to explain this. But what is taking so long?
Yeah.
They're telling us it's, I was just talking earlier in the podcast, but the Palisades one is, I don't know, you could probably Google it right now, but as of this casting, you're like 40-something%. And then the Altadena one this morning, I think was like 80. So that was pretty much done, 87. but like, why is it at 100? What is taking so long? I have no idea.
Yeah, Palisades is up 15%.
59. Sounds at 59. Altadena, the Eaton one's probably almost done.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's the embers. I think that's why.
Yeah. And I know it was windy last night. I don't know. So
This is 73.
Oh, it's only 73. I thought I saw it was higher, but anyway, I guess that's live as of this taping. I guess it's 73%. And then again, I guess to change up a little bit, we're talking about some of these companies, how they're having to pay all this stuff out. Do you recall, you were telling me some companies went insolvent during some of the other fires.
correct.
Has it been announced who is the main carrier in these areas? Like, who is the main carrier for the Palisades?
I want to say the California Fair Plan, but I know there was a big, like a lot of the carriers did start like kind of like non-renewing that area. So it's been a big thing in the news saying like, oh, State Farm left all these people in the dark, last year. And, there's a lot of stuff in the media basically, but some of these companies, they left, they give you a 90-day notice. The Fair Plan will always insure you. So some of these people, I don't know if they didn't do their due diligence.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. What are the limits on the, because for homes this expensive in the Palisades,
Yeah.
what are the limits on the Fair Plan?
So the Fair Plan, last I checked, I believe it was $3 million in reconstruction costs. So some of these homes were way more than $3 million to rebuild.
Especially this, like I said, this Malibu one
Yeah.
is listed at 29. That's the highest, one of the highest listings I saw that burned down, 29.9. And in Malibu, so obviously that's not covered. And who the hell is going to insure a property that's on literally? Have you seen those homes? The ones
Yeah.
on PCH? I have a friend who, one of their family members owns a house. We visited one of those homes before, and for you guys to, dude, water goes under the homes.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if they're going to even allow, with all the building codes we were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to allow, because that's old school building, the posts.
Yeah.
There's a term for it.
Pure beam or
Whatever it's called. It's basically like posts that's lifting your house over the ocean water, while the ocean water literally goes under the house.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They're great. I mean, I just don't know if 2025, 26 building codes are going to allow for these types of homes to be built. And if not, then I guess it's just going to be empty because there's, if you guys don't know the area, they're right on PCH, the street. So there's no room. You have to build almost onto the sand. So if they're not building onto the sand, then there's going to be nothing there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if you know anything about how the building code works.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. Another thing we got to take into consideration is all that stuff that burned, all that vegetation, now that's prone to landslides. If there's, we haven't had much
That's
rain.
up in the Malibu. Right?
We haven't had much rain, but if, it starts raining, all that stuff, might come down.
You're right, man. It's been super dry this year too. So it's, and I was just telling some people, it's actually it's a La Nina year. That's why.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't know that.
I love snowboarding, so it's been a rough year because there's
man.
there's still snow in the mountains.
We have a view of the mountains here, and a few, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing there. We got to go up to like Mammoth, which is like way
5.5, 6 hours.
yeah, it's way deep. But yeah, let's go. Yeah, we were talking about like insolvency with some of these carriers, and you didn't know. You were saying it was the California Fair Plan, you think?
Yeah.
That insures these. Obviously, you insure some of them, or Farmers does. But yeah, with the who's leaving? Who's leaving California? Well, I guess we don't know yet, right?
But we don't know yet, and it kind of sucks because we've had this whole like insurance crisis going on for about 2 years now, and so for the people that don't know, it's because California is a special state in many ways, shapes, and forms, and an insurance carrier in California can't just be like, hey, you know what, we need to increase our rates by 20%. They need to file with the state of California. We have a commissioner, and then he looks at the financials. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? You guys are not being profitable this year. Let's go ahead and, I'll grant you the 20% rate increase, whatnot. So when COVID happened, they weren't allowing any rate increases for any companies. So we went like about 3 years without rate increases, and everything else was getting expensive.
Yeah.
The cost of reconstruction, the material, whatnot, all that stuff.
Insurance is just eating.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So a lot of the companies, that's why they issued moratoriums, or they pulled out, or whatnot. So now that, they were allowing rate increases this past year, stuff was starting to level out. And, even with us, with farmers, just said like, okay, we got a couple rate increases. We're fine. We're starting to be profitable again. We don't have any plans to do any more rate increases in the next year or two. But now this happened. Now it's kind of like, what now?
Yeah. And speaking of rate increases, that's a good subject because a lot of people even call me and ask, we're now having to literally call you or call any agent that would help us out. Hey, I'm trying to buy a house, and they're literally talking about insurance. Is insurance going to screw up the deal? But I was going to ask you a question, because everybody asks, is my insurance going to increase? I'm not in the fire area and I didn't get affected by the fires, but I am in California.
Yeah.
Am I going to get affected by this disaster?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, because it's one of those things where it's like everybody gets affected, and we get those calls all the time too. Like, hey, I live in, LA, like in the basin.
Right.
I'm nowhere near a mountain. Why do I have to pay for somebody else's home that burned down in, Castaic or Santa Clarita, whatever.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff, it's kind of like it just affects. It's like even playing field when it comes to that. When the rates and the companies have to be, and some of these companies, people think like insurance companies, oh, they're like super rich. Like I've looked at some of these like loss ratios and whatnot, and some of these companies, like for every dollar that they collect, they pay out like 90 cents in claims. So it's like,
well, they got to make some money.
Yeah.
They are kind of loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't pay, I know they pay 90 cents in claims, but they got to make it up some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we were talking quickly about, remember that company Bamboo. I know you were saying you weren't sure who they're owned by, but they're a brand new company and they've been insuring everybody. So yeah, what do you think about them? I don't know. Cause every time we've been asking for quotes for, I guess, so do you have a relationship with Bamboo? Business relationship?
Not directly. It's just one of those companies where we kind of we have access to with farmers.
So you do have a relationship.
Yeah.
You're able to get quotes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We write with Bamboo. So farmers, we're technically a captive carrier, but they kind of cut us a deal. If farmers doesn't want it, they let us place it outside. So Bamboo is one of these carriers that we're allowed to play business.
Yeah. They insure. Well, they insure everything is what you were telling me. But yeah, I guess, talk a little bit about Bamboo, because they're a new company that if you guys have been working with us, we call insurance carriers like Paco and we'll get a quote. And a lot of times the people out there, the cheapest one, I just want the cheapest one. So obviously Bamboo's been the cheapest one.
Correct. Yeah, they're new. So they've only been around since 2018. I tried doing some research on them. We don't really talk to their underwriting team as much. We don't have that personal connection with the carrier as farmers, where it's if something happens, this is your adjuster, this is their manager, this is a direct cell phone, boom, you need to make a claim or you need to, we have that connection. And sometimes it's farmers is more expensive, but then there's this other company where it's Bamboo, they're cheaper, but what happens if there's a claim? And unfortunately, we don't have that direct connection with their claims department. So it's almost or here's a 1-800 number, for their claims. Give them a call.
Time, basically.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out with them, because they've been, a lot of people are using them. Not only farmers, agents, a lot of brokers. I think Allstate uses them too because they don't write homeowners insurance right now. But long story short, it's they're pretty competitive. And as far as I know, maybe some of these inspections, they don't really look much into it. So I wonder how it's going to be with them when it comes to paying out claims.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was thinking about inspections now that you mentioned that. What I've been seeing that more and more, actually, that insurance companies have been doing inspections. Yeah. What do they do? What do they look for? Because I've seen I've heard clients have called me, hey man, who's this at my house?
Yeah.
They actually go to the homes now. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so traditionally it's you insure a house, usually within 30 days, the carriers use a third-party inspection company. And it's not the same inspection that you have when you're closing escrow. It's kind of they just go and take pictures of the outside of the house, see if the stucco's good, the shingles on the roof, the foundation. If there's a dog, what kind of breed is it? Because certain breeds, they make you exclude them for dog bites.
Yeah.
So typically that's how it's always been. But now with technology, they allowed some of these companies allow the customers to do their own inspection. So they send them a link and they have like X amount of days. You take a picture of the front of the house, the back of the house, the backyard, the front facade or whatnot, and they'll do that. And also some companies are using just like aerial imagery from like Google Maps or other software where it's more up to date within like the last couple of months. So I know a lot of companies are doing that instead of sending somebody, because that costs a insurance company money too, to send us third party like inspectors.
Wow. Yeah. And that might even add to our premiums, man. Cause we've been seeing premiums. Like when I first got into the business, we were getting like, I'm kind of maybe aging myself, but we're getting premiums like $600, $700. This is at this point, maybe like 10 years ago. But now we're like $3,000 and people are they're cool with it, or they're just getting used to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how have you seen rates increase?
Yeah. Well, I started in January 2021, which was only 4 years ago. And any house was like, smaller homes were between $700, $800, $1,500. There were bigger homes, but now it's like there's no homes under $1,000 anymore.
Yeah,
it's insurance. Even if it's a 700 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, it's like.
Well, yeah. And then another thing, so when we get these quotes, we see some people's rates, I guess, that are super high. A couple questions. I mean, one thing is like, what makes my rate higher than somebody else's rate? Just a few quick tips on that. And then what's the system that you guys use? Like, what's this? Because some of these insurance carriers, maybe you'd be like, hey, there was a flood in this house.
Yeah.
But this just got paid out. How is that just a universal system that you have to use as insurance? Because all the insurance companies apparently know about it.
Yeah. So I like to think about it as a Carfax, like with cars. It's all the insurance companies use like third-party vendors where it kind of shows the history of the house. So if there's a house that, had a flood or something happened to the house, all the carriers are going to know about it. So a lot of these companies will be like, okay, we'll insure you, but you need to show proof that this was fixed, or shows the receipts or the invoice. And that's where it gets kind of like tricky, especially with
buyers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I got to go back to the seller that sold me because they fixed it like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's where it gets tricky, especially because a lot of these stay on the, I would say, record for the last 5 years.
Wait, so after 5 years, it gets wiped out?
It falls off, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Because like some of these insurance companies, I think that's another reason. Like we just have a lot of like people in California, they're complainers, bro. I mean, I've been hearing about it. They just complain about everything, and then everything is back to the insurance, and then we complain about the higher rates, but they've been paying you fat for years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
yeah, and then going back to that, there is a lot of like, I would call it fraud, even with the actual consumer. Because they'll be like, hey, there's a pipe that burst here in my kitchen and we need the floors lifting, it's buckling, we need new cabinets. And they'll go off there and it's like, you know what? It's going to be like $70,000 to fix, to redo your kitchen, whatever. We could use our own contractors and we'll fix it for you for this. But the consumer could use their own contractors as well. Yeah. So sometimes, unfortunately, the insured and a contractor will team up and will be like, you know what? It's going to be a little more than $70,000.
Oh yeah.
So, and there's that kind of stuff going. You know where I'm going with it.
Oh hell yeah. And that happens. I'm sure that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's very common too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just fix. I mean, and then that's another thing. Then you got to put them back into another house. That's another loss of use, right? I guess how much of my house has to be destroyed or whatever to get my loss of use coverage? If my kitchen's bad, can I get another? Can I go rent a place?
It has to be like some type of loss, like if a
so
pipe
I can use my
burst.
kitchen,
yeah.
But I can use my bathrooms. I could use. Well, yeah. How about that one?
It has to be kind of like you would have to get like I said, like with these evacuations, or you would have to like the house can be livable basically, and you could use it. But usually it's used when something happens where you get displaced or you have to go somewhere else. But if something happens, if there's like, hey, like my electrical box blew up, caught on fire, and that's covered. But then your fridge, same thing, like the food spoils, that'll be covered. It has to be like a direct loss, like in the policy. It can't be just be like, hey, my fridge broke down and I lost all my groceries. Yeah, because that's a lot of people get that confused. That's like, oh, that's where you have home warranty. Home warranty is different. Mm-hmm. That's more like for appliances, ACs, and all that kind of stuff.
Got it. Some random thought just came in my head actually, because I'm having this issue right now. Are you familiar with like car insurance as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there a difference between like electric cars and, gasoline cars in terms of like car insurance and in terms of like price and what's
Yeah. So unfortunately, electric vehicles are more expensive to insure than your regular vehicle. And the reason is because a lot of these electric vehicles, they just have way more like computer systems and sensors and cameras and whatnot.
right?
So some of these some of these car brands like Rivian, obviously
Like Rivians.
Lucid. I know Rivian was a big thing where it was like, apparently they don't like the whole, like if you get rear-ended, it's like you need to change like almost like a quarter of the vehicle because it's all connected. It's not like just a bumper with a quarter panel.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's like, I've seen like this guy, it was a fender bender and it was like 52 grand to fix a car.
It's like the whole car.
Yeah. And it's like,
Total. Those cars are like 80 grand though, 80, 90 grand, depending on the.
yeah, depending.
They're getting close, man. 52 grand on an older car. That shit. Just
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Yeah. So a lot of it's like, they'll probably just total it. It's like not even worth it.
So totally, you give me the whole 80 grand? Or you give me what it's worth.
Yeah, they kind of give you the Kelly Blue Book. Like, so if it's a certain car, that's what we tell people. If you have like a classic vehicle, we have different carriers. Because if you have like like a 69 Challenger,
A Corvette.
or and something expensive, it's like we have other carriers that just specialize in classic or collector vehicles. Because those companies will insure you for whichever amount you want to appraise it for.
Yeah, and that's actually something good to know because so I did just get an electric car. I cheaped out, man. I don't know. I cheaped out because they gave me, it was way less to buy an electric car in terms of the monthly payment. And you're talking like $300 a month difference in terms of my monthly payment. But now I literally just got my insurance bill. My insurance is way higher. I mean, I haven't even opened the bill. I was told the price, but I mean, it's like 3 times the price. So I gotta probably have you look at that after, just because it's went up like crazy.
Yeah.
But you're saying basically it's because of all the electrical stuff. But dude, so it's a BMW, and I used to have the same exact car. I had I had the 4 Series Grand Coupe, and basically the BMW i4 is based off it's the same technology.
Yeah.
The only thing, it's really the same. They even have room for a chassis when obviously a electric car doesn't have one. It's the same car. It's all the same technology. So I'm wondering why.
Yeah, I'm not too.
And I'm with a
familiar
big carrier. I won't say their name.
Yeah.
I'm with a big carrier.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with it, but I've had people like saying like, I've seen scenarios like I've had a couple of Tesla customers with Teslas, and you've gotten little fender benders, and it's literally just like the front bumper and then the headlight is like, 12 grand to fix. And apparently I talked to some of these body shops, and they're like, oh no, because it has a camera and it's connected to this. You got to change this in the computer, and then you got to recalibrate everything, and that costs a lot of money. And then only they could do it. And then you go in there, and it's like, there's a lot to it. It's not like just like, I have a Camry, and it's like just a bumper and headlight readily available.
Yeah.
Whether it's OEM or aftermarket.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. It's crazy. But anyway, Rod, really quick, we can probably, I guess end it here pretty soon. But I guess anything else, we haven't discussed. I know we talked about, what the big thing we haven't discussed is essentially the politics around all this, man. People have been getting, I've never seen this before where ever since the fires happened, the government officials, it's Newsom and Karen Bass have been getting absolutely blasted all over social media. And then that viral video of Newsom, that the woman, I'm sure literally everybody in California seen it, the woman that went up to him when he was trying to climb into the Suburban or whatever. And she was just, what are you going to do? Why are the fire? Yeah, why? She was actually very nice. And apparently she was an attorney or something, but I don't know if you have any idea, but why are what's going on with the politics in regards to all these fires, and why? I kind of know why the fire hydrants were empty. Trump blasted him. Gosh, Trump just railed into this guy about this smelt fish. It's a stupid fish that I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You want to touch on that a little bit? I don't know what you know about all this kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
the politics, man.
Unfortunately, yeah, like I said, insurance in California is very like politic driven. A lot of people don't know that. They just have that stigma where like, oh, insurance companies are a fraud or they're a scam or they're just, selfish and whatnot. But the government is very well involved. As far as these fires go, I mean, I'm not sure what's gonna happen. I'm sure a lot of heads are gonna roll. These fire hydrants, this
With no water in them.
yeah, even in like, I know certain parts of the country or even like other countries that I've visited, they even have like programs or actual like funds to like, they purposely burn like the forest, like in parks.
Yeah.
So that way, if there is a fire, there's nothing to burn. If that makes sense.
No, 100%.
Like controlled wildfire.
Controlled burns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know why any of that stuff is not being done here. It's
It's
like,
because I heard that, the people complain basically.
yeah.
Oh, you can't burn it at this time. It's not a good time of year for us. And we don't know what else you're going to.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's essentially the complaints. It's California
Yeah.
people because we're complainers. I was just talking about that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that, and there's like this, like the funding with the fire department. Just yesterday, I watched a video apparently like from the conditions of some of these fire stations in LA County or LA City, and some of these buildings are falling apart, and it's like
The fire department.
actual stations. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like mold everywhere. Like some of these buildings, obviously they're like 80, 100 years old, but like they don't
Yeah.
upkeep them. And apparently some of these firefighters, they're like, they'll fix it themselves or they, because there's
A lot of these guys are probably pretty handy. But,
yeah. But I mean, that's money that should be going to them. And I mean, like I said, politics, it's always a touchy subject, especially with everything going on. California, the city, the county, whatever. You hear about these like, no, well, we're using this money for this fish to protect this fish, or the homeless crisis, which, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. And you're talking about billions of dollars.
I hope it'll get better with this new administration just came in.
Yeah.
But the problem is the new administration's federal, and we really have like state issues and city issues. Like, bro, Karen Bass was apparently in Ghana, and that was blasted. And I was just talking to somebody about it. Is she Ghanaian? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. I have no idea. I know that.
And who are you? You're just, I get LA's a major city, but I was like, what are you doing in Ghana?
Yeah.
Some of my really best friends are from Ghana, but what are you doing there? Like, what do you matter to anything in Ghana for?
Yeah. So apparently, like she went to, I think it was an inauguration of the new president in Ghana, and she was having some cocktails. I mean, I won't touch into it much, but apparently, like,
Let's touch into it, man. Let's rail into it.
these winds, like they were coming. Like people knew these winds were coming. So even like
She's like, I'm out.
even like 3-4 days before, they were like, hey, like huge hazard, huge winds coming. Like
No,
we
and
haven't seen this kind of stuff in
it's
years.
also been reported. I'm not like a politician or whatever you want to call me, but it's been reported that she took $18 million, 17 point something,
Yeah.
off of the LA city budget, removed from, I don't know if it's, again, don't call me, but it's LA County or not LA County, but it's LA City or the state.
Yeah.
18 million came off, and apparently it was in her hands or she was in charge or whatever the case may be. I mean, she's saying no. It's just so much bad press.
Yeah.
What's going on with these politicians right now?
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is that Newsom gets he gets a super bad rap, and like he gets a bunch of bad press. But I don't know if you recall, we had a recall election like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I do.
And people I've heard a lot of people complain about him, and he won it in a landslide. So you people voted for him.
Yeah.
They voted like he won by like not even close.
Yeah.
But I think that recall election was kind of I'm not gonna say rigged, but it was just very like underground. Like most people didn't like really know about it. So he was just the candidate that was there. And again, I'm not super big on politics, so I'm not gonna dive super deep into it. But we already talked earlier about the commissioner, but yeah, man, he's just been getting a lot of bad press. And I'm not sure when the next election is. I think it actually might be next year in 26.
Yeah.
So it might be, and then and everybody's talking about, because, we got the Olympics coming up, and then we got the FIFA World Cup. But the thing about the World Cup is they're not really preparing for that because it's only like a couple of games, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a few games, and we already have like the stadiums for that.
Yeah, and the World Cup, honestly, the World Cup, FIFA, you guys did it wrong. I mean, they're doing the whole North America, so they're not having like a FIFA station. They're doing Mexico. It's North America, Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. And the U.S. is huge. You guys gotta because they just did. I think they did the Middle East, right? Qatar, and they did. They had a station, or they had like a hub. People could hang out. They can really set up. This is gonna be like wild. It's gonna be like games here and there. But anyway, for the Olympics, LA is going through a transformation. They're doing not a high-speed train, but they're doing another train, and like all kinds of stuff for transportation. So I don't know if they're moving money, in terms of these like fires. They're taking money from the fires for the train. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea what's going on.
And to my understanding, with the Olympics, they have to provide housing for the athletes.
Hotels, maybe.
I'm not sure how it works, but I know they have these Olympic villages. I'm not like too into the Olympics, but where they all live, all the athletes.
Yeah.
So for sure, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, or if that's new infrastructure, or they use existing infrastructure. To do that.
Yeah, but I know a lot of like cities don't make money from we can't. Yeah, cities don't make money from the Olympics. Apparently, is what I've heard. So I don't know. This isn't gonna. Yeah, the Olympics aren't gonna help us. Basically, that's what's looking like. But anyway, bro, I appreciate you coming by. I think we covered most of it. If I don't think there's anything else, there's nothing else I could think of right now that we haven't touched. But I don't know if you want to say a few words, or anyway, I appreciate your time. If you have nothing, it's cool too. But again, appreciate your time. If you want to, if anything comes to mind. Closing words, basically.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew, for having me. Thank you, Fast Action Mortgage. It's always, good to, talk about these things, because a lot of people don't know, or they're unaware, but unfortunately it takes like tragedies like this to happen for people to start like looking into it or diving into it, whether it's your own insurance policy to see what you have or what you're covered for, or what's going to happen with the carriers, or what's going to happen with the politics. It's going to change the landscape for sure. So kind of interesting to see what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, really quick. Sorry guys. One quick thing, since you were mentioning that, the people that are underinsured, I know they were calling you a lot. Like, what happens with their house, or when you're underinsured, how underinsured are you? Like, I mean, how do people know? How do people know if they're underinsured?
Well, it's funny because most people don't know. They don't know anything about insurance. Most people don't know it. Like, same for auto insurance. They just know they need to have it. I have a mortgage, so I need to have insurance. And they don't know for it. Like, a lot of it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. It's impounded in the mortgage.
It is.
But we try to go out there and do like an annual review and just call them, hey, you know what? Has anything changed? Oh, you know what? I did an addition. I did an extra like restroom and like a little like bedroom. So it's an additional 500 square feet that I added to my house. Like, you need to tell us this.
So they can't build their house. If you're underinsured, you have to come out of pocket. Like, the insurance will cover 60-70% of the new build, basically.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So yes, like going back to that, like your house is insured for X amount. Like, let's say like $300 per square feet. But if you do something to your house, sometimes people don't report it to us. Or, hey, like the garage in the back, now it's an ADU. I did it legally with the city. There's somebody living there, there's a tenant, like, oh, now you need a little landlord policy for that because something happens, it's a different type of scenario. There's like liability involved and whatnot.
No, but you're right. People are mostly, I don't want to tell my insurance is going to go up. I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah. But when something happens, like, what, you have this random person in the back living and you never told us anything?
Yeah. And I was just talking, that's a lot of legwork though to do. So we do like these annual mortgage reviews. I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah.
That takes a person to call your book, and your book in the insurance business, your book of business.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. You could have a few
thousands.
Yeah. You could have, 5-10 people renewing a day.
Yeah.
It's like, so, we like to do this, we call it the FFR, the Farmers Friendly Review. And we call and just like, has anything changed? And what, everything, what, I did get a new roof. Now it's not asphalt shingles. Now it's like clay. Like, okay, let's update that because that has like a longer lifespan. Like different things like that. And it just got kind of like a customer service. Like, we don't like tell people that, we're just not here like collecting your money year after year. It's kind of like, hey, has anything changed? It's kind of build that relationship. Like, hey, this guy or this gal actually takes their time to call me once a year to see how everything's going. and it's part of the customer service, and overall it helps the experience with the customer and the retention.
Got it. So yeah, guys, if you think you're underinsured, just make sure to call your insurance agent to kind of just verify your coverage, I guess. Because if you're in a situation like this, it is what it is. You gotta get covered properly. But again, that was my last thing, man. Appreciate you, Paco. If you guys need insurance, you got Paco from Farmers. His information will be in the display section or the comments section below when this thing gets released. So again, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.